starting now.
Intro music.
Wait, that's not it.
What? He's no good to me, Daddy.
Intro music. Intro music.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
And we're back. We are apparently live on YouTube.
Oh, there he is.
There I am. Now I'm back.
Here we are. Hey, everybody.
Hi,
Here
everybody.
We are. Yeah, for those of you who aren't watching us on YouTube, we are available quite a few places right now, but we're not the most technologically advanced of folks, so Rob has to kind of give me the go-ahead on our YouTube Live, but, we're kind of learning as we go. But we are live once again. How you doing, Rob? It's been a while.
How are you? It has been a while. It's been a lot of
just
fun,
lucky.
though. All this quarantine stuff has been lots and lots of fun.
Yeah, I don't agree. It's not been fun for me. I don't know what you've been doing at your house. Maybe you're having parties there, but we are back with Banter, Beskar, and Bantha Milk.
We sure are.
Generally speaking, a Mandalorian podcast, but we're all sorts of Star Wars here. And we're here live coming at you from each of our respective houses once again, because as has been for quite some time now, we're stuck.
We're stuck.
We're stuck in one spot.
Stuck in one spot. We're not allowed to go anywhere. And it's funny. We are, what show number is this? Are we up to 18 or 19, something like that? I think we're up to 19th show already.
Really?
Yes, and it finally just hit me why you always say that we are Banter, Beskar, and Bantha Milk in the beginning, because our intro music doesn't say it at all. And I found that to be very funny.
You know what? Neither does The Office's intro.
That's true.
The Office doesn't need to say The Office in their intro music, and we don't need to say Banter, Beskar, and Bantha Milk in ours.
That is correct. We do
That's
not
my
need
thoughts.
to
If
do
it's good
that.
enough for Steve Carell.
And that's right. Then why not good enough for us?
That's right. So we are back at you, and of course, obviously, the name of the game is Banter, Beskar, and Bantha Milk, and we want to get started with the Bantha Milk early this time. And you're asking me why? Why? Because life is stressful, and I really want to get to the Bantha Milk, Rob.
I hear you.
So what do you have today? We're doing this our own private quarantinis for the time being, because once again, A, we're in quarantine, it's hard to get liquor, and B, our fans haven't sent us too many suggestions recently.
Right,
So
and we've been a little too lazy to do it ourselves. So I am drinking some Hell or High watermelon from the 21st Amendment, and you may ask why.
Why, Rob? Why are you drinking that particular beer?
That is a great question, because we are now affiliated with the Ears Up Podcast Network. There's a bunch of shows on there. There's the original Ears Up show, which talks all about Disneyland. There's Ears Up in Depth, which is Jeremy and Jason talking about Disney news stories. They do that. I think they do that twice a month as well. And then there's another show. I'm losing Nick's voice. Nick's trying to say something. I don't know if he's pretending or not, or if his mic went out.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, so I told you this microphone wasn't working so well. I had to switch over to a different mic. So we'll make do with what we have. Again, we're kind of on, we're flying by the seat of our pants here. Anyway, Rob was talking about these shows, and what I was saying is we actually made our debut last week on one of those shows.
Yes, we did. We were on the Ears Up Network last week, promoting our show, talking to them a little bit. They're wonderful people out there. And
if you are one of the people who have come from the Ears Up Network to listen to us, thank you. Thank you for doing that. We're glad to have you.
Yes.
If you are not here from the Ears Up Network, then we're glad to have you anyway.
That's right.
We like you.
We like you just as much, yes. They have another show called The Supreme Resort, which they compare similar rides or similar attractions at both Disney World and Disneyland, and then at the end of the show, they have an award-winning and all that good stuff. A couple other things we really want to promote for them, because it helps us in the long run as well. So they have a Patreon page, Ears Up Podcast Patreon, so if you like this show, if you go over to their show and you like any of their shows, support their Patreon page. They have an Etsy page, which is actually under Cove Ears, because Jason started making these Cove Ear things, but now they're selling all kinds of shirts and stuff that are all about their Ears Up stuff. I'm jumping the gun a little bit here. We're designing a new logo, so hopefully we can get our logo on one of their Ears Up shirts.
Yeah, so let's talk that logo, right? Because you are able to catch us on all sorts of different places online, and as we call it, the social medias. We are at Bantha Milk Podcast on Facebook and on Instagram. We've been posting a lot recently. We've been posting on our stories. We've been asking questions, right? We're hoping to get some of your feedback, so make sure you look out for that. We're Bantha Milk on Twitter, and we have a website. What is the website? It's a .com, Rob. We have our own .com.
We have a full-fledged website now. We are also banthamilkpodcast.com. So here's the deal. I was thinking about this. We're all friends here, right?
That's dangerous. Go ahead.
And we're friends, and me thinking was dangerous, that's for sure.
Yes.
So, my name, your name is the same no matter what. Like, no, I take that back. It goes Nicholas to Nick. I go from Robert is my formal name to Rob is what, everybody calls me. Our show's formal name, Banter, Beskar, and Bantha Milk, but all us friends, we like to call ourselves just Bantha Milk Podcast. So hashtag
Bantha Milk Podcast. That's us.
So
yeah, sometimes we get lazy. You've known this now. We can't find our own drinks. We can't finalize our own drink rating system, and we can't get through the entirety of our name.
That's right.
So
it's
now, if you hear us say Bantha Milk Podcast, you know what we're talking about.
It's the same thing. That's right. So
Rob was able to talk about his Bantha Milk. I'm going to crack into mine.
Crack into yours.
I got to tell you, I need it. Right here, I've just got some bullet bourbon.
Nice.
My wife and I are in the process of buying a house, and it's this is something that you really need in your life. When you've got that going on.
And it's a Stormtrooper.
Yes, we have our nice Stormtrooper decanter that my wife got me for either Christmas or birthday. My sister also got me this same exact decanter.
No way, that's awesome.
Which is great because my wife likes, to have like one of these filled with a brown liquid and one filled with a clear liquid, like a vodka and a whiskey.
Sure.
So it's nice. So I'm just going to pour myself a little brown Bantha Milk, which is not the general color of Bantha Milk, but
So it's funny. I was going back while you're pouring that for our website. I'm creating a page of our rating system, how much it fluctuates and everything like that. But just having one central page that has every episode's drink name, what we rated it, and all that good stuff listed on the one page. So it's been a lot of fun. We had we had a couple of Jar Jars thrown in there.
A few. We
had a couple of.
I'm still, I can't get past the giggling Yoda.
No, the giggling Yoda.
The giggling Yoda sticks in my mind as one of the most unfortunate liquids I've had to drink in my life.
Nasty.
It's a real bummer.
But
I am going to go.
High watermelon is delicious. So cheers. Wait,
yeah, same here. Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers. I'm somewhere over there. Cheers.
There it is, and I will tell you,
good stuff.
I'm sure there is some canon Star Wars whiskey that I could have looked up and had a thing to talk about for today, but I didn't.
That's okay.
But if there's one thing that makes me feel the force, it is that first sip of a nice bourbon.
Okay.
Neat. And just that warmth spreading from your chest.
Sure, yeah, I can understand.
And that's what I feel right now. So I'm feeling pretty good. So we're going to get into it right now, right? With our quarantinis. We've talked about Ears Up. Please make sure you go and support Ears Up because they're supporting us. So if you support them, you're supporting us as well. That Patreon thing's a really cool thing if you haven't done the Patreon thing. For those of you who don't know the starving artist thing, it's real, right? We do this for fun. This is just, a good time. But we do want to reach more people, right? So that Patreon does help. But we are going to go from here into some news, right? We do have a lot of news has popped up over the last couple of weeks, both in just Star Wars generally and in the Mandalorian, because it looks like they're gearing up for season 2. And didn't you say that there was already a season 3 that's been approved?
Yes, season 3 has already been approved, which is very exciting. So we definitely know we're going to get a season 2 and a season 3, which is awesome.
All right, so I would have to assume, now anything can happen, but I have to assume our buddy Kyle's going to make it at least through the second season.
You would think.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, now with that third season, I'm wondering, are they going to use this baby Yoda as the plot device for the entire series? Or is this just going to be like, I think this is going to be like the major plot device, the baby Yoda. I think baby Yoda is going to be like his sidekick the whole time.
I think they're both going to be there.
You think we're going to see him grow up
to 900
like
years
adolescent
old?
Yoda?
Yeah.
Like where he's just kind of moody and like stays in his room.
Stays in his room all the time.
Painting his fingernails black and stuff.
Stays up all night, sleeps all day. Yeah, those type of things.
That sounds like me.
Yeah.
Sounds like me.
But
we've had lots of news.
Yes, but before we get directly into the news, funny story dealing with podcasts. There's another podcast little person called Ron Burgundy. I don't know if you ever heard of him or not before from
Once
the
or twice.
Anchorman. Yeah. So he just recently had an episode of 10 people that he would want to meet in heaven. And one of those people that he would want to meet in heaven is Yoda. And his sidekick said, Yoda's not real. And he said, oh, stop, I saw him, he's real, whatever, in typical Ron Burgundy fashion. But he said he didn't want to meet Baby Yoda because he was a punk or something like that because he doesn't talk. And it was pretty funny. So
Ron Burgundy has a podcast?
Yes, and it's very funny.
Is it Will Ferrell?
It's Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy.
Yep. And then he has another person. It's taking place in modern day, which is a little weird because,
Okay.
Ron Burgundy hasn't aged apparently at all from the 70s to the 2020s.
That's fair.
But then whatever, it is what it is.
Is this like something that he's doing like because of the quarantine?
No, he started this, he started this before the quarantine. So yeah.
Okay, I thought this was one of those like, that John Krasinski Good News
some
Network
good news,
or something.
No.
Yeah. Which apparently just got sold to CBS and people are all up in arms about it.
Because
you heard about that.
Because he started it as like a fun thing, and now CBS is like gonna try
and he's not going to be like the host anymore and stuff. So that's the whole thing.
That's a whole other thing.
I think he's going to be an executive producer. I don't know.
Okay.
When we start talking about one thing on this podcast, we could start talking.
We start talking about anything. Yes.
I feel like we need like 4 or 5 different podcasts.
Yes.
One for Star Wars, one for like all the tangents that we get off on talking about.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. So let's get back to Star Wars, shall we? Let's get back to The Mandalorian. So you have lots of fun stuff. I can't believe all the people that are going to be in season 2.
No. So I know last week, I think in the Super Show, if you caught our last episode, we had our big panel discussion Super Show, right? We had a bunch of guests. We had Rob. We had me, of course. We had my wife, Pagan, joined us. We had Chris joined us. We had our buddy Tom joined us. We, of course, had our buddy from Ears Up join us as well.
Jason from Ears Up was there, yeah.
And so I think last episode we discussed the one, right? We had talked about Rosario Dawson.
Yes, we definitely. Where are my glasses? I lost my glasses.
Well, they're not on your hat, Rob.
Well, that's a good thing, yeah. So
Rosario Dawson has been cast as what has become a lot of people's favorite Jedi anymore, right?
Yes, Ahsoka Tano.
And from what I understand, she's going to be cast in The Mandalorian, and then she's going to get her own special.
Oh,
right? Her own. I had heard that she was going to get her own spinoff. That's what
I know. Chris was hoping that. Chris,
I'd watch that for sure. I haven't heard anything about the Kenobi series in a while, by the way. Have you?
I saw one picture of the Kenobi series just recently.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that's been in the talks in a while. You'd think we'd hear a little bit.
Yeah, and they were supposedly like filming that when that was supposed to start when The Mandalorian ended,
right?
And it hasn't. So I have no idea what's going on with that. I know they went through a couple different writers and stuff like that. So who knows? They don't have our good friend Dave on there. That's the problem.
That is the problem.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize. So Dave Filoni got his start. I've been watching. You have as well the making of series for The Mandalorian.
Yes, great
which is great. And I had not realized that Dave Filoni got his start one of his starts with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
My son's watching it right now, and I said to him, Dave Filoni started in that, and he was.
I haven't seen it. I saw the terrible live action movie that everyone hated.
Okay.
But everyone I know who likes Avatar says that it's got just one of the greatest stories, the greatest character development of any like recent anime. And for you anime fans out there, you tell me, because if that's the case, I mean, it sure makes sense that Dave Filoni worked on it, because it seems like everything he touches is gold.
Yeah, he's a great storyteller. That's what I've come to the conclusion of.
But when he continues this story in the second season, it looks like we got even a new guy, because you recall that big question mark from season 1, right? At the end of the it was the one with Toro Calican, right? The episode with Toro Calican.
Okay, our favorite episode.
Our favorite.
With our favorite character, Toro Calican.
That's right.
Yeah.
At the end of that episode, we got that shot of those mysterious boots, right?
Yes.
And there was that big question.
Spurs. Who was it?
Yeah. Who is that guy? And we had our big tinfoil theories.
Yes, we sure
right?
did.
And we were like, oh, that's got to be Boba Fett, right?
Right.
Well, it might not be.
No.
Right? But it might, it's kind of like a red herring, I think they're throwing at us, because it looks like Timothy Olyphant, our boy Danny Cordray, for you Office fans out there, will be playing Cobb Vanth.
Yes.
In season 2 of The Mandalorian, and will be donning Boba Fett's armor.
Right. So he's Cobb Vanth. For those of you that don't know, I didn't know until I read this as well. Is from the Aftermath trilogy, and he's a lawman on Tatooine.
In a settlement called Freetown.
In a settlement called Freetown. It used to be called Mos Pelego, and then he renamed it Freetown, and he was the lawman of this town after Jabba was killed. So it fits because we're in that time frame. Jabba's dead, so it could very well be him. But on the same note, okay, so there's some things I don't like about that.
Go on. I want to hear. Tell me about it.
So they said that the Jawas got his armor out of the Sarlacc. Is that how you say the creature that ate?
Sarlacc?
Yes, that ate Boba Fett. Okay, so
sure.
How?
I mean,
yeah, like
how?
They're not dropping Jawas down into the middle on a rope to grab something.
They got a rope. They got one Jawa, and they're just carefully lowering him down.
They rock paper scissors, and the guy who lost went down. So the rumors are that the Jawas scavenged it out of the Sarlacc, and I'm like, really? No, I don't like that.
They're gonna have to really sell me on that.
Yes,
they're really gonna have to show me how that happened. Because listen, I've seen Jawas scavenge, and if Kyle, our boy Kyle, could get his parts back from them that easily, just by I don't know. I just think
giving
the
him an
Sarlacc
egg
would be
the Sarlacc.
I think the Sarlacc would give him a little issue.
Yeah, I mean, unless they drive the sandcrawler over the top of it, drop a cable down, and I don't know. It's going to be interesting. If that's the case, I want to see the Jawas getting it out. I don't want to just see him wearing the armor and hearing that the Jawas took it, and that's
but it would also supremely bum me out if we didn't get to see Boba. But I thought I had heard that our boy from the Clone Wars who played Jango was cast as Boba.
Timor Morrison.
Was
Tamora. So that's the other rumor now.
Okay.
Boba Fett is being casted played by Tamora Morrison as Boba Fett. But then Timothy Olyphant is wearing Boba Fett's armor. So are they going to tie all that together that maybe Boba Fett does escape? He throws off his armor because it's covered in acid and whatever, and then he just hides somewhere.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. Like all these Sarlacc pit stomach acid and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You think we're gonna see it all? Are we assuming that Boba Fett's armor was Beskar though? Because you're thinking back to Jango and Boba. I mean, you see I've got Boba Fett's helmet right here.
Right.
It's got score marks right here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I doubt a Beskar helmet. I mean, if you're not watching us live on YouTube, you're really missing out. So if you're listening to us right now on Spotify or on Apple or anything like that, go check out our YouTube channel so you can see my live demonstration with
the
my
helmet with a dent in it. And if you don't know,
this definitely wouldn't happen in Beskar.
Right. If you don't know, Boba Fett's helmet has a dent in it, which is what Nick is pointing to, which I think everybody knows about that. But yes, so is it not Beskar? Which is what the rumor was, that it wasn't Beskar. Just like in the beginning of The Mandalorian, he was wearing Mandalorian armor, but it also was not Beskar.
It looked like his helmet was Beskar, but that looked like the only part of it that was at the beginning. Right?
Yeah. So
I don't know. But...
so in the book trilogy that I read about Boba Fett escaping the Sarlacc pit, I'm waiting for I'm waiting for that to fall down. There we go. Good job.
Yeah, it's gonna fall. Don't worry.
He does manage to get out by detonating his jetpack, or the bomb in his jetpack, and he blows up the creature and escapes.
Why hasn't anyone thought of that for all this time? No one's thought of just blowing the Sarlacc up.
Just blowing it up, just destroying it.
Why not?
So that's how he gets out, but all of his armor's ruined, and he's completely like acid, like his skin's burnt off. And for the first of the 3 books, like halfway through the first book, there's a person who's helping him heal and spends a lot of time of him healing because he's so close to death.
Interesting.
So if that's the case, I could see how the Jawas could scavenge his armor because he just like ripped it off and whatever.
You think maybe we're gonna see our boy Kyle team up with our boy Boba to try and get some of his Mandalorian armor back? Because I guess maybe let's think about like Boba, because Boba Fett would have been famous by this point, whether or not he's alive or not. People know about Boba Fett.
Yes, because people.
So I'm wondering. as a Mandalorian, what Kyle would think about Boba Fett and his reputation.
Right. Like, is he...
And for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, when I say the word Kyle, listen to our old shows. I can't do all this work for you guys. Come on now. I can't spoon feed it to you. Let's go here.
So I could see, because like you think like Boba would be, you know, kind of like a general type, like high-ranking Mandalorian type of character. Not that they have rank in that aspect, but somebody that you would look up to. But it's so weird
because maybe, but like they never really, because there's a lot of Mandalorian stuff in the Clone Wars.
Right.
There's a lot of Mandalorian stuff in like all the stuff they done, but they never really conclusively tied Boba into that. Boba was always, I mean, he was a kid during the Clone Wars series, but they always kind of lumped him in with the bounty hunters and stuff like that, but they didn't really ever connect him with like Mandalorian politics or anything.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I'm just wondering what, you know, how they're going to tie him into all, I mean, they can tie him into it very easily, but I'm wondering if they're going to use the fact that obviously he is Mandalorian.
They could tie him in not so much Mandalorian wise, but more bounty hunter wise. Him joining the guild, meeting up with Carl Weathers, something like that, and getting into the guild, and then maybe him and Kyle have to go on a mission together for something. Who knows?
But that also brings up, do you think we're going to see like that sort of, is it going to be like, all right, Boba and Kyle team up and they do things together? Or is it just going to be like a passing sort of, there's Boba Fett and now he's gone?
I hope that's what
Same
it
with
is.
Ahsoka. Is it going to be like, oh, look, it's Ahsoka, and then they're gone?
Because there's more people who are named supposedly in season 2, and I really like that season 1 stood alone. I don't think we need the fan favorite stuff of bringing in all these people and having all of these other people being such a vital part of the storytelling.
I agree. I think there's something to be said for bringing some of that in, though. And I think we've talked about this before, too, is that, Star Wars is a big universe. Mm-hmm. We should have more unique viewpoints, but it is also, you know, it is fan service is part of it, right? So when we get those check-ins where it's like, oh, I know that guy, or, oh, that's really, so it is cool as an audience member.
Right.
Feel that sort of knitting of different things.
I'm okay with some weaving back and forth and some, hey, here's Boba Fett, or hey, here's Bo-Katan, because she had the dark saber that Moff Gideon now has. I like that. I don't want to see like a G.I. Joe army force of all these people that we know. Yeah, sure. You don't want like the last season to all of a sudden we have Kyle teaming up with Boba and Bo-Katan and Luke Skywalker, right? And all of a sudden we've got the Jedi Infinity Wars going on. I don't want that at all. So
I get that for sure. So we have Timothy Oliphant. We have Rosario Dawson.
Yes.
Any other casting news or anything from Mandalorian?
Well, Tamora Morrison is Boba Fett as well. So
Tamora Morrison, sure. Yeah.
And then here's another one that's rumored. I haven't seen anything on IMDb yet to make it official, but Sabine Wren is supposedly going to be in it as well, played by Sasha Banks, who was a WWE wrestler.
Okay, I gotta look this up.
Yeah, so look her up. There's a picture out there. Sasha Banks. Yes.
As Sabine Wren.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, look at that purple hair.
Right.
I mean, that's perfect right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could see her as a grown-up Sabine.
Yeah.
Very grown-up. Much different than Rebels, but yes.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like I mean, and I've gotten pretty much deeper into Rebels over the last. I've been like I've got 2 monitors set up, so I'm like over here I'll have like grading people, grading things, and over here is like, you know, Star Wars Rebels. And I actually went in and cleaned up my my classroom the other day. I had Rebels just kind of blasting on the big screen.
Good deal.
Oh yeah. But so yeah, I mean, Rebels, if you, again, I tell people all the time who tell me that they really like Star Wars, if you have not gotten into Clone Wars, you need to, because it's great. Same thing with Rebels, man. Every episode, I think Rebels is better done than Clone Wars, because Clone Wars Rebels is more consistently good.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Most of the episodes really seem to count.
Yes.
I felt like with Clone Wars, it was a lot of volume of content,
Right.
and a lot of it was really good, but some wasn't. But I mean,
And-
Clone Wars. I mean, if you're really into the Jedi lore and you're really into like just really knowing about what's going on in the Force, because a lot of people really like the Star Wars that has nothing to do with the Force.
Right.
Like you get Rogue One and you get little glimpses of it with I am one with the Force and the Force is with me. But a lot of people's big thing with the Rogue One was like, oh, it was great. It wasn't a Jedi movie. It was just a Star Wars movie.
Right.
Me, I like that, but I love the Force. Like I'm waiting for the movie where it's just, Jedi versus Sith the entire time.
Sure.
So I don't know, to each their own with that.
Yeah.
But I feel like Rebels, like if you're into the Jedi and you're into the Force and you're into like the mystical sort of aspect of it, Rebels is really where it gets in its stride.
Yes.
With all this talk of like the world beyond worlds and
Mhm.
what's that race of like moose people, or like, isn't there like a race of like almost like Tauren from World of Warcraft?
the giant
They're like cows.
Yeah, but they were huge, and they were like very spiritual, very one with the Force. Yeah. They were the ones holding the crystal for a while for them.
Bendu. The Bendu.
That's right. There you go.
Yep. All right. So yeah, get into Rebels.
Yes.
Get into Clone Wars. After Rebels, I have to get into Resistance. How's Resistance?
Resistance was good.
I haven't heard as good stuff on Resistance as I have on Rebels.
It wasn't as good as
what
Rebels.
I've seen, it was a little more Saturday morning cartoony than Rebels was.
Yeah, it was definitely a more playful version of the Star Wars show, like more, like I said, Saturday morning, more kids geared, where Rebels had some really deep storytelling in it.
Yeah.
This one is, it's more
But
more
Resistance has my boy Donald Faison in it from Scrubs, Dr. Turk Turkleton from Scrubs.
Okay.
Any Scrubs fans out there? I don't know. I'm a big Scrubs fan.
There you go.
So any more Star Wars news for the week?
The only other Star Wars news for the week that I have is...
Rob hasn't found his glasses, so he's not really sure.
I don't know where they are. On our website, banthamilkpodcast.com, there is a survey up there for you to pick our new logo. I have 5 different drawings of our logo that
Rob apparently, as a public school teacher who is trying to figure out how to completely alter his curriculum to teach online, he's decided he wants more work.
Right.
And so he's decided, I'm just going to design a logo while I'm at it.
That's it. And why not?
And it looks great. They all look great. The colors, the simplicity. I really like them all. A lot of people have a lot of different views as to which one they really like. I was a big fan of the really simple one. There's one that's like just like the Tatooine homestead with the 2 suns. I thought like that was like the coolest simple design. It was like, man, I could see that as like a simplistic tattoo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I do like he's got a couple versions. One's got the Bantha in it. One's got Kyle walking around. He's got a couple versions with each. So go and check that out and tell us which one you like the best, right? Because they're all really cool, but we want to see what y'all like. So,
yes.
So democracy and all that.
Democracy.
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. Right? Sorry, we had to go with quotes with this week's theme.
Yes.
We are going to get into some bad Star Wars quotes later because we love Star Wars.
We sure do.
Star Wars has some great stuff about it, but it also has some real terror.
Some
in it. So we'll get
real
into
bad
that later.
stuff in it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real fast, we did touch just a little bit, but I wanted to go back to it about Disney Gallery, the Mandalorian Explained. If you haven't checked it out yet on Disney Plus, definitely check it out. Episodes 1 and 2 were cool because it was like the producer sitting around. It was Nick drinking some more bourbon.
I just poured myself a second glass for those of you who can't see from home.
Yeah. You could probably hear it, though. I could hear it. It was pretty cool.
Right.
In episodes 3 and 4, they did have a couple of little fun facts. In episode 3, they were talking about a character that was supposed to be written off after the 3rd episode of The Mandalorian, but because he was doing such a great job, they kept him on for the whole time. And that was Carl Weathers.
Oh, yeah.
Our good boy Carl Weathers apparently was not supposed to last the entire season. But they...
I always wonder how they managed to make that happen. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
So Jesse Pinkman, is like the second main character on Breaking Bad.
Yes.
And the guy who plays him, who is it? Aaron Paul? Is that his name?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's outstanding. Like this role made this dude's career.
Oh, 100%.
But apparently his character was only supposed to have like 3 or 4 episodes of a loop in Breaking Bad before they killed him off. And he was doing such a good job. They just kept writing for him. And he wound up being not only one of the main characters, but, you know, if you've seen El Camino, they wrote a spinoff movie for him.
Yeah.
So, like, I always wonder, like, how do they get to, like, episode 4 of shooting and they go, oh, by the way, you're doing a super job. We're not going to kill you.
Yeah. Well, I think,
like, all right, you passed the second audition.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can stick around.
So, do you have anything planned for the next, say, 5 years? Because we only wanted you in here for 3 episodes, but we like you so much that we're going to make you a permanent fixture. So, I
guess for a guy like Carl Weathers, though, that's got to be nice, because I can't imagine he's got a whole lot of work going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he's just living off of his name. You know, like being in Rocky and Chubbs, whatever his name was, in
Chubbs Peterson.
Chubbs Peterson, Happy Gilmore, yeah. So I'm sure at this point he's living off of his name, so he could get work, you know, because he's Carl Weathers, so I'm sure he could get work. But if they wrote him off, we wouldn't have got this. Do the hand thing, baby. That's right. We would have never got that.
Speaking of terrible Star Wars quotes, that's a great Star Wars quote. That will not be on our list today. Oh, boy. Oh, that is great.
And then in episode 4, they talk about the volume. Did you watch episode 4 at all?
I haven't watched episode 4 yet.
Oh, my gosh. So episode 4, they talk about their state-of-the-art green screen set, which is not a green screen anymore. It's thousands of digital TVs all wrapped around this giant room and a ceiling full of digital TVs as well. And they run the Unreal gaming system behind them for all the sets. So as they're moving the camera, the scenery behind them is moving, the scenery above them is moving. They talk about how because of this, they now have proper shadows on people.
Wow.
They talked about before this, nobody used reflective materials like the Mandalorian's armor is basically all mirrored. Right. Because if you were standing in front of a green screen, you had different shades of green on the armor. So they would have to get out each shade of green, put in a different shadow color on top of it, and do all this stuff. But now with this TV system that they have, it's not reflecting green anymore. It's reflecting the actual surroundings that he's
whatever's
in.
On the
So
that's
it's
insane.
amazing.
You know, I keep trying to decide, when are we going to reach a critical mass? At one point, is technology just going to get to the point where it's like, all right, we can't go anymore? And every year it's like, I guess not. And you know, when I see the stuff that's out there, and you realize there's probably stuff even crazier that's not available to us yet.
Oh yeah,
because it's like top, like military grade, like. I don't know. I think Lucasfilm as a company itself is single-handedly responsible for pushing the movie industry well beyond its time. All the time, since the 70s. The 70s. I mean, they were revolutionary when they came out.
Yeah,
but
George Lucas
what they're doing now.
George Lucas was always 10 years ahead of what he could actually do. Like he had that vision and he was pushing, and with his THX. Yeah, like with those people, and like he just keeps pushing them further and harder and harder and harder.
But that's the other thing that I'm loving about Dave Filoni too. In this documentary that they're doing, essentially about the making of Mandalorian, they're really pushing the fact that for whatever reason, Dave Filoni has the ability to just kind of intuit what George would want.
Yeah,
and I feel like the best possible version of Star Wars is someone who can intuit what George would want, without all of the other weird stuff that George has going on.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has heard the stories about, we hear that George Lucas hates the new Star Wars. All this stuff about, George would have done this and would have done that. I hate to tell you, you would not have liked the Star Wars George put out.
Yeah, exactly.
6, 7, 8, and 9.
Uh-huh.
He would have gotten really weird, and that's fine because that's his vision. But he was really in, like, the biggest thing that a lot of some of the fanboys out there hate about the prequel trilogy is the midichlorians. And I hate to break it to you, that was one of his biggest. He loved that.
He loved it.
He really got down for that. So, like, I don't know that the creators' original intent means much beyond good storytelling. I don't know where one comes beyond the other, but I think we have a really good balance with Dave Filoni in that we have someone who's a great storyteller and also has an inkling as to what the original creator's intent might have been.
Yeah.
So he can do that while tempering the crazy side of what George Lucas was.
And they showed a lot. George Lucas was, I don't know if he was on the set a lot or if he just came for one day or whatever, but they had George Lucas on the set, and he basically like walked in and was like, this is what I wanted in 77. You know, like this is what I wanted 40 years ago. Like now you guys can finally do it. And they talked about the volume and how other movies and other platforms have played around with it a little bit, but nobody like really committed to it because they were afraid of what happens if it doesn't work. Then we have to go backwards. But with The Mandalorian, they said, nope, we're using this. We're going to do it no matter what happens. We're in. And they jumped into the deep end of the pool, you know, head first. They were like, we're in. And it's amazing looking at it. Like, I always like watching, you know, over the person's shoulder, seeing what's going on in the background, you know. And so when they're showing these behind the scenes, other camera angles of the volume and stuff like that, like you can see, you're like, oh my gosh, that was not a real scene. That was filmed inside the studio. So then you're trying to figure out, okay, which scene was filmed on location, which scene was filmed in this studio. And then even then you're trying to figure out which part of this is real and which part of this is the screen behind them, because they had to have, you know, real props in front of the screen so that the actors and stuff had something to work off of. But then you really can't tell how deep into the scene it goes before the TV start. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to check out episode 4 of that, because it's, if you're into the technical behind the scenes, this is the first one that's huge behind the scenes. So that's really cool.
Yep. And it's just, I mean, it's just good to see people who are not necessarily just doing it because they got a job offer.
Yeah.
You know, the whole big thing behind, you know, if you're a big Game of Thrones fan, which aside from Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and A Song of Ice and Fire is probably my biggest fandom as far as nerdiness goes. I'm huge into it. I read the books constantly. I always have the audiobooks going. My next tattoo plan is A Song of Ice and Fire based. I really love it. I forgot where I was going with this. That happens a lot. I get on tangents.
I start a sentence and I
start talking. What is it? Michael Scott. He goes, it's an improvisation, or improv conversation. Anyway, A Song of Ice and Fire. What were you talking about?
You were talking about how into the people who weren't
it's this
there
right
for
here.
Just the paycheck, because the last season of Game of Thrones, it was almost like they were just there for the paycheck.
Yeah, so D&D, thank you, that helps me out. So D&D, if you ever hear D&D means David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, right? D&D are the creators or the showrunners of Game of Thrones. It became abundantly clear that they did not, and they did like kind of some they've been very, very quiet post Game of Thrones. They really did, like, it is so amazing the pervasiveness Game of Thrones had on the culture of America. It was huge. And then all of a sudden the last season was so bad that no one's talking about it. We're in a quarantine. Have you heard about anyone rewatching Game of Thrones during this quarantine?
Tom actually started watching it, but not rewatching it.
I did see that.
Yes.
But he didn't rewatch it.
No, he didn't rewatch
right?
it.
Because I understand someone watching it for the first time, but I don't know of anyone who's rewatching it during this quarantine. And so D&D, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, were on track to have their own Star Wars franchise.
Correct.
Not just one movie, a 3-arc movie.
Yeah, a whole trilogy. They had it all set up for them.
And they got it yanked away from them because of the backlash from Game of Thrones. Because it was clearer and clearer as things went on that they took on Game of Thrones without any regard for the fandom.
Right.
Like, they made decisions, and like, fandoms are very protective of the source material.
Oh, just look at Star Wars. They hate
like,
everything.
Star Wars fans get angry at everything. And so they really, I mean, when they were making Game of Thrones and they were using the source material, seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5, like, it was insane. You were using George R.R. Martin's material and it was great.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden things went bad, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people theorize that it was because D&D like saw the beyond Game of Thrones. They were looking beyond it to their Star Wars franchise. Going, we're about to make our millions.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting that they don't have that franchise anymore. They took it away.
Yeah, like HBO offered them, 10, 12, however many episodes
2 more seasons.
Yeah.
2 more seasons of at least 10 or 12 episodes. They said, nah, we got this.
We can wrap it all up in 8. And
spoiler alert, they could not.
They could not. It was too much, too fast, and it was too messy.
And it just makes me it almost makes me happy. And again, I love Game of Thrones. I love A Song of Ice and Fire. But if Game of Thrones had to go through what it went through in order to save Star Wars from those creative minds, because remember, those same creative minds also gave us Wolverine's or X-Men Origins with Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds, the very first one.
Yes.
The one that even Ryan Reynolds in his new Deadpool movies lampoons how bad they were.
He totally made fun of himself in the original one there. Yeah, the original one was awful. So
I'm just very glad we avoided that.
Yeah.
That could have been terrible.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway, man, look at my hair.
It is
anyone else out there need a haircut?
I shaved up the back just so that.
Oh, you've been buzzing it up.
Yeah, I've been buzzing it up. But my
you got
my
that quarantine beard going.
I do have the quarantine beard going. Back to Star Wars though. Our good friend Wedge Antilles, you know this guy?
Name.
Yep.
I heard him.
He's played by a guy named Dennis Lawson.
Okay.
2 fun facts about Dennis Lawson. One, in episode 4, his name is misspelled in the credits. They spelled it with 2 N's instead of 1. His name only has 1 N, but they spelled it with 2 N's. And he is Ewan McGregor's uncle. So Ewan McGregor is the young Obi-Wan Kenobi. So he's his uncle. So that's pretty funny.
Hey, my dad just Facebook messaged me. Apparently my dad just got into The Mandalorian, by the way. I'm very excited about it. He says my audio is muffled. Not me, just me, not my partner. How's my audio, Rob? How does that sound over there?
Through this, you sound okay, but it could be muffled on the YouTube over there.
Great. If you're watching me on YouTube and you can't hear me, just know that it doesn't matter. Usually most of the things that I say aren't all that important to the general progression of what we're doing here.
So if that's the case, if you're watching on YouTube and you're frustrated that Nick's audio is muffled, in a couple days from now, go ahead and download us on the podcast, and then you can listen to Nick.
You can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on
Apple Music, Google Play,
Apple Music, Google. Yeah, that's right. All over the place. On Stitcher, man, we're everywhere.
Yeah, Anchor. You can go directly to Anchor's website.
That's right. So we are going to move on now. We do have a brand new series that we're going to start this week. It's a weekly, maybe weekly, maybe episodely. I don't know. Every episode we're going to try and get to this new first ever brand new series we have. It's called Jedi of the Week. I don't know if Rob has the audio queued up.
I do. Yeah, I have to lose you in the video for a second to go to the audio.
This is high quality production.
High quality stuff. So here we go.
Let me know when it happens.
You missed it. You talked over it. Don't talk.
Try it again.
There it was. Jedi of the Week. It's like a digital Jedi of the Week. We did
if you're watching
all
us
that.
on YouTube, you did not hear us. But if you're watching us elsewhere, you're going to catch our Jedi of the Week. And I think it's only fitting that our first ever Jedi. So we're going to talk about different Jedi throughout the history of Star Wars. It might be canonical, since Disney kind of bought things out, things have kind of changed. We could talk about some previous canon, some legends, some Disney stuff. But we're going to talk about one that is currently canon. It is a Jedi who technically exists within the Disney universe. And it's pretty topical because we are Bantha Milk Podcast, but we are a Mandalorian podcast. So
Correct.
Why not start with the very first Jedi who was a Mandalorian? Because if you don't know who, kind of the history here, the Mandalorian and the Jedi have a checkered past, right? They fought each other a lot. If you played Knights of the Old Republic, probably the best Star Wars video game of all time. I think it was released 10 years ago. It's a pretty old game at this point, but they talk a lot about the old battles between Jedi and the Mandalorian. So the very first Jedi who was admitted as a Mandalorian into the Jedi Order was a guy named Tar Vizsla. Right. So he is the very guy who created the Darksaber. Right. And this Darksaber is something that has come up quite a bit. We saw the Darksaber in Clone Wars. We saw the Darksaber in Rebels. We saw the Darksaber most recently in the Mandalorian. Very last episode, we know that our boy Moff Gideon somehow has this Darksaber. Right. So if you didn't know, early lightsabers, now I don't know how much of this is considered canon anymore because a lot of stuff was kind of thrown up in the air. But in the original kind of canon of Star Wars, the original lightsabers were not just handheld things. They were actually sabers that were connected to like a power pack that you held on your back.
Oh, wow. Did not know that.
Yeah. And so they would carry this like essentially a battery pack on their back, and it would be connected to their saber, and that would power this lightsaber. And so these were some of these ancient Jedi lightsabers with these ones with this power pack. So the dark saber was a unique lightsaber. It wasn't necessarily like more powerful. It wasn't necessarily like anything else in the, except that it was unique. It was created by Tar Vizsla. It was wielded by Tar Vizsla, and it was used by the very first Mandalorian Jedi. It was an early design, maybe not the precursor to the lightsabers we have, but it was a unique one. After Tar Vizsla died, it was kept at the Jedi Temple. Right, we had this really great, dark, nasty-looking lightsaber that, for whatever reason, when you see it in media, it emits light. It's like a dark lightsaber that emits a light. I don't know. But it was kept at the Jedi Temple until it was taken. It was taken by House Vizsla. Now, in Star Wars, there's lots of, it's almost like Game of Thrones. You have House Stark, you have House Lannister, you have House Tully, Tyrell. It's a lot of the same things happen in caste systems within Star Wars. We have Alderaan has a very distinct house system. House Organa is like the biggest house on Alderaan. House Vizsla is like a big house for Mandalore. Right, we've met a lot of Vizslas, Tar Vizsla being one of them. We have Pre Vizsla as the head of Death Watch in Clone Wars. We also have a Vizsla in Mandalorian, right? In season 1 of the Mandalorian, we have the big beefy Mandalorian who like picks a fight with our boy Kyle in the Coven. He is a Vizsla. If you look at like the credits at the end, he's a Vizsla, and he's voiced by Jon Favreau. And so, for whatever reason, House Vizsla is pretty prominently featured, and it was like used as like a sign of leadership and power by House Vizsla, this dark saber. And so we don't really know the progression. We do know that a lot of people have owned it. We have Tar Vizsla, Pre Vizsla, Maul, who's no longer Darth Maul, right? Maul owned the dark saber. Kanan Jarrus had the dark saber briefly before Sabine and Bo-Katan, and somewhere between Bo-Katan and Moff Gideon, something happened.
Correct.
We don't know, but something happened, and I'm assuming sometime in season 2 we're going to find out exactly how Moff Gideon got his hands on the dark saber.
Especially since we have Bo-Katan supposedly being in season 2,
right?
So it's
exactly
tied together somehow. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I don't know if Gideon has any sort of Mandalorian ties himself, but this lightsaber is distinctly tied to the Mandalorians, distinctly tied to House Vizsla itself. So interesting to know or see what we might be getting from that. I don't know exactly where they're going to go from that. I don't know how deep they can get with that, because again, there's only a certain amount of depth you can get in these things, because there are people like me and Rob, and probably you, who like inhale this stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right. The dark saber, we know we got a glimpse of it here, but we also saw it here because we're all nerds, right? But not everyone is like that. And Star Wars likes to treat their fans all equally.
Sure.
They like to make sure that the people who are really invested and really know everything, like, get stuff, but they also don't want to leave behind the people who don't consume from all forms of media.
Right.
So I don't know how deep they're going to get into it, but I think it's pretty interesting to see. I think we're definitely going to get a little bit of like Jedi lore. I think we might get a little. I don't think they're going to show a famous lightsaber without giving us a little Jedi lore.
Correct.
So I'm just interested to see kind of what we're going to get from that. But that's our Jedi, our very first Jedi of the day.
Jedi of the week.
Of the week, right?
Of the week, yes.
Our good old Tar Vizsla.
Tar Vizsla.
If you have any Jedi that you think should be nominated for Jedi of the week, there's loads of Jedi out there. It's so funny to think about the fact that we're talking about this random, fake, completely fictional world, that there are loads of deep history that there is there. But if you have a Jedi that you really love, that you think needs a little coverage, send us an email, banthamilkpodcast@gmail.com, and let us know. Hey, we want you to cover Revan. We want you to cover Malik. We want you to cover Kreia. Tell us someone. Any Jedi you can think of. Even if you want a Sith. We'll do a Sith of the week.
Oh.
We'll do Gray Jedi. You want to talk to Jolie Bindo? We'll talk some Gray Jedi. I don't care.
So,
some Jedi.
Speaking of Gray Jedi and Force-sensitive people like what's his name from the latest trilogy? Who
Finn
may be force sensitive.
Has to be for sure.
So the other rumors for season 2 are that our boy Kyle may find out that he is as well force sensitive. So going along with Ahsoka coming in, teaching him about the Force to see if he is in fact force sensitive or not. Or so that's other rumors out there about season 2.
I'll tell you, anything that shows me that Ahsoka knows her stuff. I want to know more about Ahsoka and like what she's done. I'm so excited to know about more about Ahsoka just because of the Clone Wars, man.
Yeah.
If you're someone who is not watching Clone Wars, it has been 19 or so episodes now of me telling you to go watch Clone Wars. If you haven't done it yet, it's your own fault. Go check it out, man.
There's our Jedi of the Week. Moving on.
Jedi of the Week.
Jedi of the Week. Moving on.
Right.
I just, you know how Empire Strikes Back on Friday was the 40th, or Thursday was the 40th anniversary of the release of Empire.
40 years.
So with that.
It's older than me.
It is. It's not older than me, though.
No.
We've seen since the very first Star Wars and even the whole first trilogy, George Lucas has changed section after section, scene after scene of the movies. But did you know that the very first Empire Strikes Back change happened the day after it was released?
Oh, really?
Yes.
I had no idea. Why don't you tell me about it?
I will tell you all about it. So it was released first on the large film screen. So it was only released on about 100 screens on the whatever the date the Thursday was. George Lucas watched it and decided at the very end it needed 3 more little cut scenes in there to help people better understand what's going on at the very end of the movie. So once Luke and Leia are back, and Han Solo or Lando is leaving in the Millennium Falcon and all that stuff, there were 3 little action. There's your Falcon. There were 3 little, not even action shots, just like background shots, I guess, that were added so that you knew that the Falcon was first attached to the big ship. You knew that they were in the medical room, and then the medical room was, at the edge of the ship. And then another...
I always thought it was really interesting, by the way, that they're staring out the window of the medical ship at just a giant galaxy. It's like they're not in the galaxy. Yeah. They're just looking out, and there's just like a giant galaxy they're looking at.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's very strange.
So he started changing it the day after it first aired, and then we know that he can't stop changing it even to this point. That
stands.
Yeah.
As far as George Lucas goes, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No. So I found that very funny. I've been going back and rewatching Empire and Return of the Jedi, and I have a question for you. Do you know what parkour is?
Oh, sure, of course. Parkour.
Yeah, from The Office.
Internet craze of 2004.
When it was 2007 when they were doing
maybe something like that.
It made it even better that it was they found something from the internet from 3 years earlier and thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I'm watching Luke Skywalker during his training with Yoda and all this stuff, and all he's doing is like gymnastic stuff. He's just doing flips and bouncing off of trees and all this other nonsense. So is Luke Skywalker the original parkour champion? That's my question for you.
I mean, it was a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
It was. So I think Luke Skywalker actually invented parkour.
I mean, Luke was really cut during episode 4, man. Yeah. Or episode 5. Empire Strikes Back, he was doing his training. He had like those beefy shoulders, and he was like doing flips with Yoda on his back and his tank top and stuff. He had just gotten out of that car accident.
And he got himself back into shape real fast.
Real fast.
So
crazy stuff.
Today is May 25th.
It sure is.
It sure is. Today is the day that in 1983 Return of the Jedi was released. And also 1983 Return of the Jedi.
37 years ago.
And in 1977 A New Hope was released on the same day as well. So both of these movies were released today.
This is a great day in Star Wars history.
A great day in Star Wars history. So to ruin that great day in Star Wars history, instead of talking about how awesome those two movies are,
Why would we do that?
Why would we do that? I have a whole bunch of fun facts of mistakes, things that went wrong, and even some trivia there. So
Tell me some terrible stuff that happened in Star Wars.
So I can still, luckily for me, even though I have no idea where my glasses are, I can still read this. So this is a good thing.
We need to start printing you giant print.
I know, right? I need the large prints.
Man, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're really missing out on what is happening with my
Nick's
hair situation.
Hair is definitely out
because
of control.
It is maybe about 11 feet above my head.
It is. Like
this whole quarantine is not doing well for what's going on above my head. Anyway, talk to me about the terrible things.
So the first fun fact. This isn't terrible. This is just a fun fact. But the shooting name for the movie now, like a lot of times they don't want to tell people they're filming Batman Begins because then they'll have all kinds of fans there. So the shooting name for Return of the Jedi was called Blue Harvest.
Blue Harvest. I think I had heard that before.
And the tagline was horror beyond imagination. And then this was also fun when filming some of the Endor scenes. Peter Mayhew, you know who he played? He played Chewbacca. Was told to stay close to the set so no one thought he was Bigfoot and tried to shoot him.
Oh no, poor Peter.
Yeah, I thought
Peter Mayhew used to be a regular. If you're on Reddit, Peter Mayhew used to be a regular contributor on Reddit. And he used to like pop in on different threads that would talk about Star Wars. And literally he'd just be like, hey, hope you're doing great. Cheers, Peter Mayhew. He was like just a beautiful soul.
That's awesome.
So he was just a wonderful human being. It is really sad that he's not around with us anymore. But anytime I see Chewbacca on screen, I think about what a lovely soul Peter Mayhew must have been.
That's awesome. Yeah. So
just a big, gentle giant.
Just a big, gentle giant. Him and... Darth Vader, who played Darth Vader?
David Prowse.
Yes. So they both came in, and at one point they said, the directors or George Lucas or whatever said to them, look, you guys are going to be either Chewbacca or Vader. Pick which one you want to be. And Peter Mayhew said that he wanted to be a good guy, so he picked Chewbacca. And the other guy said, I want to be a bad guy, so then he was Darth Vader. So that's how they got their roles.
The interesting thing about David Prowse too, apparently, is that he didn't know that they were going to dub his voice.
No,
and I don't think they really knew either.
No,
until they like recorded him and they went, "Well, this doesn't sound."
Yeah, good. And he said all the lines in the movie.
Yeah, and then you can still see some cuts, like on the there's a great documentary on the making of Star Wars that's called Empire of Dreams. You have to go check it out. And you will see some scenes where he's like doing like the very first scene with Darth Vader where he comes and he chokes the guy with it. It's like, man, this is lame. This could not James Earl Jones is necessary. He is Darth Vader.
Yeah, his voice was not the same as James Earl Jones. No. On a side note with them, I have it written in here somewhere. I'll find it again. Oh wait, whatever. But they never James Earl Jones and the guy David Prowse never met each other. Like
that makes sense.
While filming, they never met each other because, like you said, they didn't even know that they were going to dub over his voice until later. This is a 2-episode continuity issue. It starts in Empire Strikes Back and ends in Return of the Jedi. When Han is put into carbonite, his upper arms are strapped down to his body as well as like his handcuffs.
Yeah,
they take his handcuffs off, but they never unstrap them. And then in Return of the Jedi, when he comes out of the carbonite, his arms are free. And another side note to that was his hair is shorter when he comes out than when he goes in.
Well, apparently from what I understand, that might be just an effect of the unfreezing process, you know.
Sure, it kills some of the hair cells.
Yeah.
So what you should, and me too,
I need to freeze myself in carbonite.
Yeah, and then your hair will come out shorter when you come out.
I have a appointment book. I have a barber. It's a great barber, Revolution Barber Company in Summerdale, New Jersey. They're great. There's your plug, Revolution Barber Company. Anyway, they're a really great barber shop, and it's a real bummer that like a lot of small businesses aren't able to open right now. I have a appointment booked for June 10th. I don't know if I'm going to be able to
get in or not.
I don't know if it's going to be legal at that point, but I have something. But I usually get a haircut every 3 weeks. It has been, how long have we been in lockdown?
We've been it's been like 60 or 70 days at this point now. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
This is the longest my hair, this is not exaggeration. Yeah. Maybe the longest my hair has been in 25, 30 years.
It is long. That is for sure.
Possibility. Oh yeah.
There's a lot of audio continuity errors. Princess Leia, when she's talking to Wicket, words come out of her mouth, but her mouth doesn't move. Leia says to Han, "Let's go, General Solo," but her mouth says, "Let's go, Captain Solo."
Wow.
Luke.
Well, that always reminds me of. Did you ever watch Galaxy Quest?
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest. If you're watching this or listening to this podcast, you've probably watched Galaxy Quest because it's totally up all these nerds' alleys. I love Galaxy Quest. There's actually a Amazon Prime documentary on Galaxy Quest, so you go check it out. But there's a very distinct line in Galaxy Quest where, what's the woman's name? The one who speaks to the computer. She's a very famous actress. Sigourney Weaver, is that who it was?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah. So she's her whole job in the entire movie is just literally she's the only one who can talk to the computer. And at one point, they're trying to keep this I think they were trying to keep it a PG or a PG-13 movie, and she very clearly drops the F-bomb.
Okay.
And you can see it. She goes, "Oh, blank that." If you're watching, you're she definitely said that. But they dub over, "Oh, screw that." And you're like, there's not a chance.
That is
no
not
way
what she
that
said.
works out.
She did not say that. So on the same line is that Luke, when he's on the speeder bike with Leia, he tells her to take that one, I'll take the other two. But his mouth never moves. So there's a lot of these things where they go back and they redub the voices over, and there's no talking or cutting of the film to get it to look the way they want it to. They just go, we'll throw the audio over top of that.
Another interesting one, at the end of that movie, when Luke and Vader are fighting, at one point, Luke chops off Vader's hand. That hand isn't actually his real hand. It's a fake hand that they chopped off.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't really chop his hand off. It's a real bummer.
That's a shame. I thought for sure that his hand would have really got chopped off. That's weird.
It's movie magic. Sometimes,
that is movie
sometimes
magic.
You don't want to see the man behind the curtain.
I know. Darth Vader's mask.
I'm finishing up my second glass here, so
you go nuts. Darth Vader's mask goes from dusty to clean in scenes when he's trying to turn Luke into for the Emperor, like when they're all in the Emperor's room.
You know the symbolism behind his garb in episode 3 or episode 6 as well, right?
No, go ahead.
The all black.
Okay.
So we see Luke the entire movie in all black.
Correct.
Right. And so we've never really seen a Jedi in all black. I mean, we know at that point we've never really seen many Jedi, but apparently the intent behind that was this fighting with this darkness that Luke had inside of him.
Okay.
And you notice at the end of the movie, once Luke has prevailed against the Emperor and cast aside his anger and said, "You've lost," the black tunic he has kind of comes out, and he's got this slap that pulls out over that shows a lighter side.
Oh, very
right. And so you see that he has shown his lighter side and he's turned away from the dark.
Very cool.
Now, I mean, I have heard many places that was intentional. Whether or not I can't imagine. At the end of the movie, they would just said, "All right, we're going to peel down the top of his cloak just to make him look sexy."
Just to make,
I don't think that's how that works.
I like it. And knowing George Lucas, I'm sure was definitely intentional to do that as well.
Sure.
Because it's always been fighting good versus evil, dark versus light. So, yeah, that is pretty cool. Talking about Luke, when he's on the sand barge, when they're over top of the pit, he kicks a pirate twice, kind of.
Not really.
Not really. When Boba Fett is attacking him, you see in the background he kicks this one guy, and he's about 2 or 3 feet away from him.
Yeah, there's a couple spots in that fight scene where you can very clearly see, no, not even close.
Not even close. And then the second time, he kicks him again, and that's when the guy falls backwards. His gun falls out of his hand, and he falls down into the pit. And he clearly missed him twice.
Yep.
So he must have just used a force kick, I guess, is what, how you can explain
That's it. That's right.
It's got to be a force kick.
It extended his foot.
It extended his foot out, yeah.
And the other big thing about that scene is the color of his lightsaber, right? Like, we had not seen a green lightsaber until we see Luke's. Now, if you, delve into the lore, the green lightsaber is supposed to represent Jedi consulars, and Jedi consulars are supposed to be the more mystical of the Jedi, who concentrate more on their Jedi powers more than lightsaber combat. But really, the big thing was in 1980, whatever, when it came out,
83,
a blue lightsaber did not look good against the sands of Tatooine. It blended in too much; they couldn't see it well, and so they turned the lightsaber green in order to see it better.
To be able to see it better, which is awesome.
Yep.
So and then I love how they make a story out of it. Okay, we can't say this; we got to make something better out of it. So this is
and they literally just took a technical glitch they had in the movie and turned it into a huge lore point, which is just what Star Wars is best at.
Yep. Also on that scene, when Luke jumps from the one skiff to the other, his lightsaber is shorter than it should be. It's the 1/3 scale prop lightsaber, and it's not lit up. They forgot to go over and color it in. Yeah. A lot of sloppy. A lot of shots flipped, you know. I don't know why they do it in movies all the time, but they always flip the image. They don't like the way you look right-handed, so they'll flip it around and make you left-handed or whatever. Boba Fett's antenna on his helmet switches sides in Cloud City, and Lando's outfit switches sides. Yep, that thing right there. So one scene,
it's just disconnected.
one scene it's on his right side of his helmet, the other time it's on his left side of his helmet, and back and forth again. And Lando has like a holster or like a sash or something like that, and it's going one way in one scene. The very next scene, it's going the other way, and then it goes back to the other way again. So they love flipping it back and forth. Lucasfilm. This, like, I love Star Wars people, because you know how they watch these movies so intently, trying to find all the mistakes in it. It's ridiculous. Princess Leia apparently has a mole on her back. And that too, yes, that too switches sides when Chewie pulls her closer on the skiff, and they go and they like fly off of it. Her mole is on the left side instead of the right side, or something like that.
Interesting. I can't say during that scene I was ever really concentrating on the mole.
No, I don't think so either. I didn't even know she had one, to be honest with you. Jabba's scene was played backwards when Luke offers him the droids. You can tell this because the bubbles in the pipe in front of him, instead of going up, are going down.
Well, that reminds me of the famous scene in episode 4 where the sand people attack, right? We had the very first intro of the sand people, and he got his little gaffy stick above his head. They actually take that scene and they loop it.
Yeah,
and so
he only
it was
did
really
it once.
just him kind of doing this.
Yeah.
And literally, I mean, for those of you following along at home, I raised my hands in the air. Yeah, but they just looped that like a couple times.
Yeah, they did that like 3 times. They're the fun ones that I found about Return of the Jedi. And now A New Hope, I mean, there's thousands. I remember reading like a 10-page paper of all of the mistakes and fun facts and all that good stuff. So,
well, episode 4 was just like a series of events that somehow led to a franchise. I mean, like that Star Wars should not have been. You know what I mean? With how crazy it was. And episode 4 is just full of just like, I can't believe this became what it did, despite episode 4.
So one of the interesting things, I guess it was released 20th Century Fox or whatever production company had it. Not a lot of movie theaters were buying it. Very few movie theaters were buying it. And they said, if you don't buy this, we're not going to let you show this other movie that they had coming out in the next month and a half or 2 months through the summer. So then all of these movie theaters then bought Star Wars. And the funny thing about it was Star Wars outgrossed this other movie by like 300% or something like that. Like it was, Star Wars was like such a huge blockbuster, and this other movie didn't even do anything. So
what was the movie?
I don't have it written down, but I did read it. So
this is Bantha Milk Podcast research at its finest. This is it at its.
Look, I have 3 pages of notes. I left that one out, but then now I'm trying to talk about it, which is bad.
It's all right.
Bad reporting.
I forgive you. I had a page of notes, which is about a page more than I usually do.
There you go. In A New Hope, of course, you have the lightless lightsaber scenes. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Loads of them, all over the place.
Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, both were holding lightsabers that were not glowing. Because, do you know how they did it in 77?
Well, you had mentioned to me it was a very arduous process.
Yeah, like they literally went onto the original film, scratched it, and colored over the lines of the lightsabers, because that's how they did it back in the day.
They had to do it frame by frame,
Frame by frame, yes. So
thousands of frames. Someone had to go sit there and scratch out and color.
And they had to look and try and find these real thin silver blades that they were holding in their hand to see where it was. So obviously somebody missed it a couple of times.
I guess so.
The stormtrooper bangs his head. We know that one. That one is so famous now. Like he has his own website and everything like that. Clunk. They added in the clunk afterwards. Yeah. Lando also bangs his head in Jabba's palace when he's got the mask on with the bone mask and stuff. Mm-hmm. Right before he pulls his mask down, he's walking forward and he bangs his helmet, and it actually moves his mask up a little bit. But Billy D. Williams is so cool that he just made it look awesome.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The hole that they climb through in the trash compactor, when Leia shoots the hole in the trash compactor, when she shoots it, it's too small for them to actually fit through, but then they cut away from it, they go back to it, and then everybody can fit clearly through this much bigger hole later on.
Continuities for geeks.
That's right. You can see Kenny Baker inside of R2-D2 at the Sandcrawler scene. As the top piece is spinning, you know, the little bulb or the little dome in the front.
Sure.
As it's spinning, you have to like pause it to see it, but he apparently has like a light on the inside so that he can work the controls or whatever. And as it goes through, you can see his face in that little circle there. Nice. And also, this was a fun one, and this one I actually felt really bad for Kenny Baker. He said that a lot of times when they broke for lunch,
they leave him in there, right?
They forgot about him and they left him in there. Oh, poor little dude. Guy. I'm like, oh man, that stinks. Poor him.
Poor dude.
Captain Nita. Captain Nita. He's still alive. You didn't know that? Yes. Darth Vader chokes him. He falls down. 2 of the other people go to drag him out, and if you watch in the background, he stands up all by himself and helps the 2 people carry him out of the room.
You ever think sometimes, I think I saw like a skit about this where like people were just like faking. Yeah. It's like, let's make him think he's joking us.
Well, they did that.
And then just come back with like a mustache.
They did that on SNL.
Like I'm a different person. That's right. That's who it was.
It was SNL with Kylo Ren.
That's right.
They were like,
that was one of the greatest sketches ever. Like the Bad Bosses Kylo Ren version.
Yes, that was awesome.
Excellent. That was a great
and he didn't actually know how to use the Force. Everybody just pretended like they, and it was the same people over and over again, like you said, with different mustaches or whatever.
That's great.
The first rebel, you talked about it earlier, that Vader choked out in the very beginning. He slams into the wall. He gets slammed into the wall, but when he's choking him in the beginning, you hear a crack noise, which is supposed to let you know that Vader broke his neck. So if your neck is broken, when you get thrown into a wall, you're not going to be able
You'll probably just ragdoll.
Yeah. He puts his hands up to stop him.
Yeah, he literally goes, oh no. Like stops himself.
And then his like fall is really like lame. It was really bad.
Listen, it was the 70s. People weren't quite as critical of the minutia as they are today.
No, not at all, unfortunately. This is a fun one. The crate dragon skeleton that R2-D2 and C-3PO walk past is still in the middle of the Tunisian desert today.
Really?
Yeah, they left it there.
They just left it there?
They just left it there.
That's awesome.
When they went back in 2002 to film, I guess, episode 3 or whatever, maybe episode 2, episode 3, whatever, a bunch of the crew went over to that location, and it was still there. So that's
awesome.
Originally,
I'm surprised some Star Wars fan hasn't come and stolen it.
I know, right? Some rich Star Wars fan hasn't. Yeah, because it's probably big. Originally, R2-D2 talked. He didn't just do beeps and whistles, and he had a potty mouth, which is why C-3PO is always reacting to him. He was actually reacting to his actual words in Episode 4 because he was actually talking at the time. And then the last one, we talked about it already, James Earl Jones and David Prowse, who played Darth Vader, never met during filming. So those are just some of the fun facts that I have about it.
Sure.
So go ahead.
Lots of fun facts about Star Wars.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. But we do have to. I mean, it's been a little over an hour now. I mean, we always think like, man, let's keep it 45, tight 45. And then it's like an hour and 20 minutes in, and we're still talking, right? But we do want to make sure we get to some bad quotes. Star Wars is a great bad quotes. We love Star Wars. Star Wars is one of my favorite things that exist. But it has also culminated in some of the worst lines in history. And I think a lot of that comes to the prequels. George Lucas is a fantastic, brilliant mind, but not a great writer. So we want to talk about some of your very least favorite quotes of Star Wars history, right? And if you want to, after you're done listening to us talk about this, maybe send in your comments as to what you think are terrible Star Wars lines, or else if you disagree about our Star Wars quotes, that's great. We want to hear from you, but we're going to talk some just terrible, awful Star Wars lines. And I got to tell you, all of mine have a theme.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but all of mine have a theme.
I only have two because I put more effort into the other stuff, so I figured this would be your thing.
I only have like 6.
Okay.
But all 6 of mine follow the same theme. And that theme is they were all spoken by the same actor.
Oh, nice.
And that actor is Jake Lloyd.
Okay.
If you know anything about Jake Lloyd is the chosen one. He was our boy, chosen to play Anakin Skywalker as a child. And he's one of the worst child actors in history. Bless his heart. If you watched him in Jingle All the Way, he peaked in Jingle All the Way.
And then it went downhill
that
from
was,
there.
That was the height of his career.
Ironically enough, next week we're having him on the show. So
that's right. we have a separate Jingle All the Way podcast where we talk all about the lore of Jingle All the Way, and he's going to join us there. But yeah, so Jake Lloyd now the prequel trilogy suffers from the fact that George Lucas really took control, and I don't think he's a great writer. He's got a great vision. He's not a great writer. So here are some of the absolutely despicable quotes that Jacob Lloyd was responsible for. First of all,
well, to be fair, the kid didn't write the lines himself.
No, you're right. But here's the thing: when you watch, do you watch Stranger Things?
Yes.
So Stranger Things is a great show.
Yes.
With great writing.
Yes.
And great child actors.
Okay.
Those actors are just good actors. It is not a good child actor. Those are actors who are good at their craft.
Okay.
Jake Lloyd was not a good actor when he was 9 years old. However old he was not a good actor. He could not sell. Even if the lines were great, he would not have been able to sell them.
Okay.
You know, you see, you're like, who's the kid from Sixth Sense? Not Shia LaBeouf. That's another guy.
I see dead people, but whatever. Yes.
Yeah. That kid. It's Haley Joel Osment.
Yes, Haley Joel Osment.
He was a good child actor. He could sell it.
Yes.
This kid could not sell this stuff, right?
Go ahead.
Here's a couple of these lines that this kid just could not sell. Now, this is pod racing. Terrible. I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Not a good line.
Not so good.
No.
Are you an angel?
Oh, yeah.
Terrible. It's working. It's working. Terrible. How about his yippee?
When he was
he
so
said
much
the
energy.
Word yippee.
Well, he's on a green screen. He has nothing to base off of his emotion.
Do you think that during it's filming day, right? Put yourself. It's 1999.
Yeah.
You're Jake Lloyd. You know, you've just gotten, probably $750,000 as a 9-year-old.
Yes.
To play the biggest role of all time, and you read the script. You go, okay, I'm about to nail this scene. George Lucas goes, action, and you go, yippee,
yippee.
You think,
yippee.
Honest to God, you feel like I'm getting an Oscar.
Yeah.
I'm getting an Oscar today.
Okay. Can you try that? I don't know. Let's see, with a little emotion
so the
this
yip
time.
was nice. The yip was nice, but the E needs a little more length.
Really punch that E in there. Yippee!
The
really
E is where the emotion of the scene comes from.
That's where it comes from. All the way down on the E.
So,
You really got to nail that E.
So for me, for bad quotes, I have written literally what says on my notes is anything Jake Lloyd says. Honest to God, he was the least part of the trilogy's the sequel or prequel trilogy for me.
Okay.
And it makes me sad because I'm a teacher. The poor kid, he was a kid, and this movie messed up this kid's life, man.
So you got people all around the set. There's probably 30 people on the set. There's got to be an acting coach somewhere on the set nearby.
You would think.
There had to have been thousands of kids who auditioned for that role. So
somehow
out
Jake
of
Lloyd
all
won.
the kids that auditioned for that role, that one showed the most promise.
And if you Google Jake Lloyd today, Jake Lloyd, he lost his mind.
Okay.
He went off the deep end, and he blames George Lucas.
Okay, because of, I can understand that. He's like Star Wars kid, yeah.
He doesn't blame Arnold Schwarzenegger
for Jingle All the Way.
And I got to say, Jingle All the Way is probably my favorite holiday movie.
Okay.
of all time, hands down. I love Jingle All the Way. He delivered in Jingle All the Way.
And then Star Wars.
And then Star Wars happened, and I can't get behind it.
Well, I have 2 quotes.
All right.
One is from Episode 9. My name is Skywalker. That's
a pretty controversial line.
I'm not a fan.
I get it.
I'm not a fan.
I get it.
So yeah, so that one. And
her name is Rey Palpatine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. That's your name.
That's your name. That's your name. You can't just go changing it just because you want to be a Skywalker.
Here's the deal. My name is Nick Gates.
Nick Gates. Yes, I like that.
And I think that somehow I don't
the
understand legality.
Who's the guy who?
But I think somehow I'm owed $1 billion.
Yeah. Who's the guy who runs Amazon? What's his name?
Oh, that's Bezos.
Yeah.
Rob Bezos.
Rob Bezos. Yeah. Rob Bezos. My name,
right.
Rob Bezos.
That's it.
And then my other least favorite line of all time, and I don't know if you're going to be able to figure out when it is, but
okay.
Carrie? That's the whole line.
Carrie?
Carrie. That's it. Yep.
I can't think of it. What is that?
The end of episode 4.
Episode 4.
After they blow up the Death Star, Luke Skywalker flies into the hangar. He comes out. Carrie Fisher says to him...
He says her name, doesn't he?
Yes. He says to him, Luke! And he doesn't say
She
Leia.
says Carrie.
He says Carrie. So that is
You know what's funny? I'm not an actor, so I don't get it. But I watch a lot of bloopers. I don't know if you're a big blooper guy.
Oh, yeah.
But I think bloopers are hysterical.
Very funny.
For whatever reason, I think when actors break, it's the funniest thing.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, every time when I'm watching, like I was a big Scrubs fan. When you watch Scrubs, when one of the actors of Scrubs accidentally calls them by their real name,
right,
they lose it.
Yeah.
They go like, that you call me my name.
Yeah, that's
like a big thing. Mm-hmm. That whole Leia would be one thing, but calling her Carrie, that's a big thing.
And I mean, there were a lot of people on the set right there. So George Lucas is sitting right there. Everybody's sitting right there.
You don't catch that?
Nobody heard him say Carrie.
You've got editors.
Yeah.
You've got screenwriters. Yep. You've got no one went, hey man, like Mark said Carrie. Maybe we could just dub him saying
just dub
Leia.
it. Yeah, I
mean, or maybe even just not use that audio. Nope.
I have 3 pages of when lines are wrong. There's people talking without moving their lips.
This is a random guy in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, in his basement can fact check this stuff.
Yeah, they're talking, and throughout the whole movie, they're talking without moving their lips, or they're moving their lips and saying different words. You couldn't see Carrie and say, "Oh, let's change it. Make sure he says Leia." Nope. So Carrie's in there. So that's one of my favorites.
Apparently not. That's great. That is excellent.
Yes.
If you did not hear what you think is the absolute worst Star Wars line, and we've definitely missed a few.
Oh yes.
Don't get me wrong. I love Star Wars. I think it's a great.
Anything Jar Jar Binks said could be written down. Oh there. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about the Mandalorian when Bill Burr's character starts making fun of Gungans.
Yes.
It was so good.
It was great.
But yeah, if you think, man, you did not list the real, truest, most terrible line, let us know at banthamilkpodcast@gmail.com. Bantha Milk Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Bantha Milk on Twitter. Let us know.
Go to our website.
Nick, I know you're on your 3rd glass of whiskey,
yep.
But I have a suggestion for you, right? Mm-hmm. Because you missed it, right?
You missed it.
I think that's all we got for today.
I think that's it. I think that's a jam-packed show.
It's been an hour and a half.
It's a
jam-packed show, and it's just us. We don't even have 5 other people on.
No, we don't have guests or anything.
When's the last time we had just a me and Rob?
It's been a while. Yeah, we started to really expand, and then it became too much, especially with Zoom and all this stuff. There was just too many people talking. So once we're allowed to all come back into Bantha Milk Studios here, then we can have 4 people again back in here and have a good time. But I think,
but we. We had a good time chatting about terrible quotes. We had a good time talking about our new Jedi of the Week, right? Which, if you have a Jedi you want to go ahead and tell us you think we should be featured as Jedi Week, please let us know. We had a good time with our Star Wars news. We talked about our quarantinis. We talked about our social media. We talked about a lot today.
We sure did.
Anything else you think that the good of the order needs to know?
The only other thing really is, don't forget we're friends with Ears Up now. We're part of their family, so you can
Ears Up family.
Check us out on their website, earsuppodcast.com.
That's
and
right.
they have an Amazon link on the Patreon link as well. So if you don't want to support Patreon, which I understand, that's fine. Everybody buys from Amazon. Do your Amazon shopping. Click on the little Amazon link there on their website, and then then we get money that way. So that's pretty much it. I mean, we did it all. You may see us soon, one of these days, on the Supreme Resort, being a judge on the Supreme Resort, and we may get those Supreme Resort guys on here because they are Star Wars nerds as well. So it'll work out.
That's right. So if you have any questions, comments, quandaries, queries, conundrums, please let us know at banthamilkpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media. My name is Nick. This is Rob. We always have a good time talking to you about Star Wars.
Let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, let us know if you have topics that you want to let us know about for shows. If you have specific eras of Star Wars you want us to go ahead and get more in depth about. If you want us to talk about certain movies, certain video games, certain books, let us know. We're open to it.
That's right.
We are open books. We are teachers. It's about to be summer. We're about to have a little time on our hands. A little, not much. I'm buying a house, but a little.
Yep.
Right. So let us know what you got. We're here. We're ready to answer your questions. Anything else for the good of the order, Mr.
I don't think so.
Rob?
Go ahead and take us out of here, Nick.
It has been a fabulous time. And from all of us here at Bantha Milk headquarters here in sunny New Jersey, we have spoken.
We have spoken.